right, so that's been a whirlwind. And we're back to now, we're on part 4, I think.
4B.
4B, there we go. So, let's pick up at the Garden of Gethsemane.
This is Tuesday night.
This is Tuesday night.
Wednesday morning.
Yeah, early.
For them, it's Wednesday.
Because it's like early, wee hours in the middle of the night now. So, what takes place in the Garden of Gethsemane? Where is the Garden of Gethsemane? What's significant about it?
I'm not going to talk too much. This is Jesus obviously praying. The disciples can't stay awake. Judas is going to get the folks. You got a ton of prophecy from the Tanakh being fulfilled here.
Yeah, Jesus. Peter cuts off the ear of the man, the authority there. You want to speak? You had some insights onto that.
I don't remember.
You don't remember?
I don't remember insights.
Okay. All right, so we'll go ahead and move into the actual, into Mark 15, which I forgot to mention yesterday. The Passover passage that we're looking at was Mark 14, 12 through 72. You can also see it in the other Gospels, but now we're looking at Mark 15. So, Jesus goes before the priest. He is, you go ahead, you have a lot better historical viewpoint of being able to share what was taking place in all of these trials and what was going on between the chief priests and then Pontius Pilate.
We don't have a whole lot of time, so he's going back and forth. The Sanhedrin can't condemn someone to death, but they can cover just about everything else. So the Sanhedrin's made up of the religious leaders and are basically a political group. Pretty Sadducee heavy, but there are Pharisees and occasionally even an Essene that you can find at different times in the Sanhedrin. At this time, it's probably mostly Sadducees and some Pharisees. You know, Jesus butts heads with the Pharisees a lot, but after he butted heads with the Sadducees, within about 2 weeks, they killed him. So, of course, they're the more ruling class, the elites, the more academically trained, the richer. Like elites a lot of times today. The Sadducees, they didn't believe in the word, the scriptures, and they didn't believe in the power of God. So they were, they didn't believe in the law or the prophets. As Jesus said, you don't believe in the scripture or the power of God because you don't understand either one of those things. So Jesus didn't even spend much time with them. He just blew them out of the water and they killed them in return.
So,
you got some back and forth with Herod and Pilate, and they were not good friends. And then after this, they became friends, and it's just a bunch of stuff. That's not important.
And then Pontius Pilate's wife also gave a warning not to touch it. And then what happens to him very shortly after is he is killed. So the warning that she gave was fulfilled as well. So fast forward a little bit, unless there's something you need to cover. There's so much to cover, but So at the 9th hour, which is 3 p.m. on Wednesday, this is when Jesus dies. And of course, there's other things that take place with the
crucifixion started at 9 a.m., which is the exact same time that the Passover sacrifices en masse were started in the temple, less than half a mile away. I mean, it's not far from the Temple Mount to Golgotha at all. It's okay, go.
Okay, okay, sorry.
Do it.
So the priest then, of course, the final sacrifice is made at the same time that the priest is also sacrificing.
3 p.m.
3 p.m. The final sacrifice of the Passover, where he just said, and what do they declare?
The high priest kills sacrifices the final lamb, and as he draws the knife across the throat, cries out Nishlam, which is Hebrew for "it is finished," which is the exact same to the second. Scripture is very, very particular at 3 p.m. So to the second, the exact same second as the high priest says Nishlam, it is finished. The high priest, less than half a mile away, is on the cross saying Nishlam. Okay, I know it's written in Greek, and there's a whole lot you can get out of there, but given that Jesus was Hebrew and this was his last word, he's probably speaking in Hebrew. I wouldn't even say he was doing Aramaic. I think he was doing Hebrew. It's just me. The sheep, after they were sacrificed, they had to be, of course, you have to drain the body of blood and their
How are they cut?
They're cut and posted on poles in the shape of a cross. Oh gosh, what else?
Okay, the other thing I was going to talk about was Golgotha. What is important about Golgotha? Why is it named the place of the skull?
Well, we only have 3.5 minutes.
I know it. We're trying to time this so it's not so bad.
There is some speculation, not total. There's some speculation that the reason it was called Golgotha, which means place of the skull, is because if you go back and look, David buried Goliath's skull in Jerusalem, which at the time wasn't in Israelite hands. It was under control of the Jebusites. So why David went to Jerusalem to bury Goliath's skull? But if somebody buried a gigantic skull on a hill, I don't know, maybe that big, it might get some attention and maybe be renamed place of the skull, which is what Golgotha is. Again, that's some theories. Some people say Golgotha, Goliath, Golgotha. That doesn't seem to be the case linguistically, but it would certainly get your attention. There's also some indication that the blood from the sacrifices there in the temple actually mingled with Jesus' blood as it ran off of Calvary, so they would have been funneled in the same channels and taken outside Jerusalem.
Okay, so
tag.
Anything else before I go to the Shabbat part?
No, go.
Okay. So everything has to be completed before the Sabbath. Now, why is there a Sabbath when this is Wednesday? Because in Leviticus 23, verse 7, you can actually read all this passage.
In case you've been wondering why we've been saying it's not Good Friday, it's Wednesday.
Yes. This has been a misconception in the church for so long, and for years I struggled with this because I was going, the math isn't math. He said, and even he prophesied that just as the sign on Jonah, the 3 days and 3 nights, that it would be fulfilled. So it's repeated over and over and over. This would be 3 days, 3 nights. We also see this in the picture with Esther. I won't go all there. But the math didn't make sense if it was Friday night that he died and rose on Sunday. So if you go and actually study it, you'll see with the Passover, go read Leviticus 23, 4 through 7, and it talks about the Passover and the unleavened bread. It speaks of, on the first day, hold a sacred assembly and do no regular work. So Passover, that means right after that, you have a Shabbat, a Sabbath. For 7 days, present an offering made to the Lord by fire. On the 7th day, hold a sacred assembly and do no regular work. So now what's happening is, so Wednesday, there's these Passover sacrifices. The Shabbat started that night.
Thursday.
Sabbath, the special Passover Shabbat, started that night, which would be the beginning.
Because you could do the Passover meal early in the morning on Wednesday morning, which for us is Tuesday morning, or you can wait until Wednesday night, but not too late, not before sundown, because then you move into Thursday. Mm-hmm. So you could do it in like the nighttime, our nighttime on Tuesday, or you could do it in the evening on Wednesday, because both is separate time, as long as it was on that day, because remember they go from sundown to sundown.
Yeah. So you had the Shabbat starting that night, and then we will get into shortly here in the next days. But that is why there is 2 Shabbats in the same week. So when we talk about the Good Friday, and then there was a Sabbath, and Jesus was resurrected on Sunday, it makes sense that there's a Shabbat, but it doesn't account for the fact that there was another Shabbat the same week.
You have a Shabbat after the holiday, mm-hmm. and then you have the regular weekend Shabbat.
And this is why we know the timing. So, okay, we will leave off here and pick it up tomorrow. And yes, we're definitely going to have a 6-parter.
So yeah, Jesus was crucified on Passover, and then also unleavened bread, because they were the same days.
Yeah, which time? Anyway, yeah, powerful, sinless. Okay, go to a Seder.